Clips, clips. Remember, citizens, the only way to survive and thrive is to subscribe and hit the bell. All will be well. 1995. Keep you out of hell. Whew. Running around like a madman. Clips, clips. Oh, and I knew that was going to happen. Remember, citizens, the only... So in the afternoon, everybody, here at 1 o'clock sharp, as always. Buttons everywhere, buttons everywhere. See what's going on here. I think I just need to check a few bells. Check a few whistles. Okay. Aye, there. One for the money, two for the show. Three to get ready, can go, can go. Two. Alright, Roberto. You head over onto my other channel, mate, you'll get the... I'm everywhere. Alright, Roberto, alright, who cares? In the afternoon, gents. Yeah. I'm trying to stream it simultaneously. I lost my moose loose about the moose. Anyway. So as usual, what's your BBC and our... Cause you don't get to see the old RT wherever you may be. So I can do that. It's the BBC. There's the RTs. See. Top of the hour. Top of the morning to you.
Now, with shelling continuing for days, again.
With 73,
maybe I can make myself a cup.
500 million.
I've deliberately not watched any news today, so I think this is the top of it. For this one. Listen to the music, beautiful.
From Moscow to the world, you're watching RT International. My name is Peter Scott, and wherever you're joining us from, welcome to the programme. With the conflict in Ukraine now into its 13th day, let's start the programme with a quick recap of some of the latest developments. The Russian Defense Ministry says humanitarian corridors from 5 Ukrainian cities opened today. Attempts to evacuate civilians were previously disrupted, with Moscow claiming Ukrainian nationalists refused to let people out, while Kiev insisted evacuations failed due to a ceasefire violations by Russian forces. Agreement on the opening of those corridors was reached during the 3rd round of talks between Moscow and Kiev on Monday. Russia expressed hope that the agreement would be respected by Ukraine, which has vowed to do so, but previous arrangements fell short. In turn, Ukraine has said so far that the talks didn't produce any positive outcomes, but consultations will continue.
Oh, fuck me, my mic's and shit.
And in Europe, energy prices are hitting all-time records amid sanctions against Russia. That's as the European Commission is about to announce a raft of emergency measures to cut reliance on Russian gas.
Woohoo!
Evacuation from the northern Ukrainian city of Sumy reportedly started this morning. This footage allegedly shows the evacuation of foreign students believed to be the first to leave the city. Numerous humanitarian corridors have opened today in Ukraine after Kiev and Moscow came to an agreement in yesterday's talks. Russia says the ceasefire was declared and it was agreed that safe exit routes would open from 5 Ukrainian cities. Kiev has confirmed the opening of some of those humanitarian corridors, having previously disagreed on routes leading to Russia. Russian negotiator Vladimir Medinsky said he is hopeful a compromise can be reached.
They said it's practically impossible. I see a big difference between impossible and practically impossible. Both these issues are vital for Russia.
It's between impossible and practically impossible.
And of course it's vital for the position of our delegation. I hope sooner or
Let me know what you
later
think's wrong with the mic.
we'll find a decision for that.
It's still...
Well, here you can see refugees who've travelled from Ukraine to the city of Taganrog in southwest Russia. They left through those humanitarian corridors which opened after an agreement was reached during yesterday's peace talks. Most of the refugees are from the city of Mariupol, where fierce battles have been taking place. And those who managed to flee from Mariupol to the safe zone in Donbass, close to the Russian border, shared what they've been through.
Попадали под обстрелы, получается, с нескольких сторон велись боевые действия, и мы нашли небольшое укрытие в яме, и в метрах 200, наверное, от нас падали снаряды, и мы прыгали в эту яму вместе с детьми, чтобы как-то себя защитить.
Нашли яму, и взлетал беспилотник над нами. Минут через 20 с минометом именно по гражданским начали бить. Трудно сказать, с какой стороны, но...
Но беспилотник был не российский, потому что его пытались сбить россияне.
Беспилотник был украинский, и били с минометов украинцы по нам.
Но с той стороны, где, да, скорее
Мы уже
там
детей показывали под него, что здесь жители гражданские.
Well, battles continue to rage throughout Ukraine. According to the Russian military, Donetsk and Lugansk forces are advancing into further areas. That's as another ceasefire is attempted to allow civilians to escape. The Russian Defense Ministry says nearly 2,500 military targets have been destroyed in Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict. And here you can see video from the Russian Defense Ministry showing its attack helicopters, which overnight were said to have destroyed an anti-aircraft system and armoured vehicles.
I misspoke, by the way. The president of Ukraine wasn't on X Factor, it was Strictly Come Dancing.
Ukrainian authorities said it was the result of airstrikes.
That's where I seen a picture of him in a
already been contained.
pink, sparkly
no
tank top.
Injuries. At the same time, the Ukrainian army has allegedly been forced from almost the entire territory of the Lugansk People's Republic, with 73 towns and cities seized. But as the front lines are redrawn, some harrowing tales are emerging, as told to RT's Maria Finoshina.
With war raging, bringing death and destruction, those alive dream about peace. But here it seems this is something even the dead cannot yet find. These are local experts exhuming bodies from what they call the spontaneous graves of those who died in shelling and hostilities, one of 4 such resting places across the Republic of Lugansk.
When we saw that those pits with approximately a meter of depth, literally a 4x4 square with 10 to 15 bodies in each. Listen, it's just not right. We lifted out 292 bodies out of it. Their names should be remembered. That's the price of our freedom.
Right.
We witnessed the first of these graves when we worked here back in 2014. On those hot summer days, local morgue refrigerators were totally packed with corpses, and as the city was shelled for weeks non-stop, they were not working properly as power was cut off. Committing bodies to the earth was urgent.
We examined all bodies, took DNA for further matching, regularized the remains and reburied them with marked numbers with accordance to dignity and orthodox norms. We really hope the remains will be identified soon.
This is
Aren't
where
you getting
most
as bad
of the
as the
bodies
BBC
discovered
in
in a
the
mass
West, man?
grave outside Lugansk were reburied. And I say bodies because few have been identified so far. For now, it is a cemetery with simple crosses and numbers, no names. Work has begun to turn it into a large memorial to the victims of Ukraine's aggression, its official
Cheers,
name.
Martin.
It lies across
A
from
microchip,
another monument.
Remember,
right
if you
there
appreciate this,
to
folks,
local
stick a
civilians
thumbs
killed
up.
here by fascists
Share
back
it
in
with your friends,
1942,
your
and
family,
it
and
is
your
also called
foes.
"We will not forget, we will not forgive." That was in 2014.
Is that no anonymous?
Now,
We will not
continued for
forgive, we
days.
will not
Again,
forget.
The experts have received
We are
information
anonymous.
about new mass graves along the front line.
Anybody we want to be.
We want to be wrong, but our experience of working with nationalistic battalions and the Ukraine Security Service shows it could highly likely be true.
Now they are waiting for the fighting to stop, to start rescuing those alive, healing those injured, and to rebury those who are dead. Marie Finoshna, RT, from the
Mate,
Lugansk
it's
Republic.
blue skies, it's beautiful up here,
Now,
but
Russia
obviously this
has
time of
long
year
been
being
an
blue
established
skies, it's
producer of
Baltic.
high art and culture in the Western world. But amid the Ukrainian tensions, the situation has drastically changed, with many of its cultural figures being cancelled, as Charlotte Dubensky explains.
The West's anger towards
Cancel
Russia
culture. They're
over
trying
the
to
war in
cancel a
Ukraine
whole country.
is now spilling into unexpected sectors, with culture caught up in the geopolitical
Hilarious.
fray. Anyone who doesn't speak out
I remember,
against
folks, if you
President
appreciate
Putin
this,
is being
it's gonna be
considered
here
to
Monday
be
to
no
Friday.
longer neutral and needs to
And
be
if I'm bored at a
cancelled.
weekend,
That's leading to many renowned international
I'm going to be subject to
artists
myself to this
being
piss
dumped
anyway,
from
so...
their positions which don't normally come with a slice of politics at
me
the
to the
side.
moon,
A
I don't
boycott
know
is
the
underway,
words
see
upon
some
a
that is
star.
more stringent than that during the Cold War.
Even at the height of the Cold War, cultural exchanges
Right,
between
let's
Russian,
be honest,
American,
man.
and European
Right, what the
artists continued.
what
What's
the
happening
hell
today
does
is different.
fucking
It goes
Russia
beyond the
offer
Cold War.
me?
It's a real war.
Right, nothing.
Strong words from an opera house that is now
Apparently they do
buying into the
offer- apparently they're
cancelling
good
of
at the
high
Men in Tights
culture,
stuff.
with the Met promising that it will sever ties with all pro-Putin Russian artists.
but I'm
And
certainly not
some
gonna
of
miss
the
their
most
food.
prominent names in their field are being singled out. Take Valery Gergiev, considered to be amongst the greatest conductors of
It is
all
kind of sad
time.
and pathetic,
His
though, in a
refusal to
sign of
take a
today's
political
world
stance
that
has seen
they
him
are
stripped of
actually
his
trying
role
to-
as conductor of the Munich Philharmonic, as well as other roles. Now, opera singer Anna
Oh, you can still
Netrebko
hear
has
that.
had all appearances suspended until further notice, despite being vocal that she does not agree with the war. That denunciation apparently didn't go far enough for the Met, who wanted her directly to denounce President Putin. Even institutions like are expected to be hit.
They have public funding, and in the eyes of the world, talking about the Bolshoi and talking about the Russian state is the same thing.
The pressure is so rather
Back
than
in the room,
being
back in
forced
the
to
room,
make
back in
a
the room.
declaration. That includes the musical director of the Toulouse Orchestra and the Bolshoi Theatre.
Over the last few days, I've witnessed what I thought I would never see in my life. In Europe today, I'm forced to choose and prefer one member of my musical family to another.
Individuals who refuse to denounce the war are one thing, but Russian culture is now under a much wider attack. Ballet performances such as Swan Lake have been pulled. Compositions by Tchaikovsky have been removed from orchestras, and ties by some European museums to their sister institutions
The Chelsea
in
fans
Russia
that sung
have also
Abramovich's
been
name
severed.
were
What's
pure
unfolding has
browbeat
been
in the media.
described
Oh,
as a
it's
new
shocking!
form of McCarthyism.
It's absolutely
Russia has
shocking!
even been banned from Eurovision.
But there weren't even
The decision
there's nothing to
reflects
do with the
concern
war.
that
They're
in light of
singing
the
a guy
unprecedented crisis
who's
in Ukraine,
fucking
the
brought them
inclusion
all
of a
sorts
Russian
of
entry would bring the
trophies to the
competition into
club.
disrepute.
His name.
Some point to the move as mirroring the situation in Russia itself.
trial by
Some
media,
art
man.
workers
Really
have
is.
taken a public stance against the war. Conductor Ivan Vilanikov from Paris was apparently sacked by a Moscow theatre after using a performance to oppose the war in Ukraine. But is boycotting performances actually going to help the situation in Ukraine? Or will this move only
Well,
go
good
further
luck
to
with your
isolate
foot
Russians
operation.
who are already beginning to feel that they are part of a witch hunt. Charlotte Dubinsky, RT, Paris.
As the conflict continues, oil and gas prices remain at record highs for a second day in a row, while some European leaders reject calls for a ban on the import of Russian energy. The Bulgarian Prime Minister is among the latest, saying his country is dependent on Russian energy sources. Meanwhile, Russia's Deputy Prime Minister says an embargo on Russian energy would have disastrous consequences on global markets.
Gazprom fully fulfills its obligations to supply gas to Europe. Moreover, the supply through the Ukrainian gas transportation system has been increased. At the same time, we understand that due to unfounded accusations against Russia regarding the energy crisis in Europe and the introduction of a ban on Nord Stream 2, we have every right to make a mirror decision and impose an embargo on gas pumping through the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline, which is 100% loaded today. Everyone knows that oil supplies from Russia are the most competitive for the European market. It is obvious that the rejection of Russian oil will lead to disastrous consequences for the world market. The surge in prices will be unpredictable. If you want to refuse the delivery of resources from Russia, that's okay. We know where to redirect these volumes.
Can I say his name right?
Meanwhile, oil giants Shell and British Petroleum say they will stop buying Russian crude oil. And across the Atlantic, American politicians seem to be determined to reject all exports from Russia. However, the White House says any decision is yet to be made, as RT's Don Coulter reports on how such a move could affect the West.
All around Washington, the call to ban Russian oil can be heard. America's bigwigs also claiming it's Putin's main source of revenue.
Putin is weaponized energy. I don't believe this country should be importing
weaponized energy
thing from Russia.
By banning the import of Russian oil here in the United States, we have the opportunity to work with our allies to stabilize the energy market across the world, safeguard our nation's energy security, and boost our own energy independence. It's time to ban all imports of Russian oil.
Never in the history of warfare has a bad guy been so exposed as Putin is today.
Well, Roberto,
the revenue from oil and gas keeps
I did know that Ukraine
if we can isolate
was big
the oil
in
and
farming,
gas sector,
but
produce
they
more
also
here
produce
home,
quite a lot of
that
other
will
shit.
do more to end this war than
And
any
one of the
single
big,
thing I
one
can
of the
think of.
things that I've
Banning oil imports from the world's number one exporter will no doubt come at a cost. Nevertheless, some on Capitol Hill are ready for Americans to pay even more at the pump.
I can't even remember, was it like 1/3 or something even more than that in the world's fertiliser comes to Ukraine?
And stop basically the support of Russia. I would gladly
certain
pay 10 cents
metals and all that as well.
Someone should probably let Manchin know that Americans are already paying not 10, but 30 cents more per gallon. In fact, just a week after the most recent waves of U.S. sanctions against Russia
Americans
were launched,
to shut
the price
the
of oil
fuck
nearly
up,
reached its
come to the
2008
UK
all-time
and have a look
high,
at our
which
fucking
caused
prices
more than a
without
little
having a heart
anxiety
attack.
across the U.S.
As nations increase
And then show them that we've got the fucking North
President Biden
Sea
has warned that some
oil
of those
fields
moves could also end up hurting U.S. consumers.
As we all know, prices Americans are paying for the basics, food, gas, housing, are all high, and they could go even higher.
Okay, got some bad news for you. The U.S. gas price has reached a national average of $4 a gallon, the highest in over a decade, as the Biden administration now considers banning Russian oil.
A ban isn't even in effect, and yet the economic consequences show just how reliant the U.S. is on Russian oil. Last year, the U.S. doubled its crude oil imports from Russia, bringing them to their highest level in 2 decades. That totaled over $4.7 billion.
So what we will get is the big crisis everybody wanted across the ocean in New York and so on. So what we will see now is that with these price increases, the entire financial system will fall apart, and I think this could already be.
RT's getting a bit
that,
dull and
brings,
boring. Come on, like, show us some
crash.
dead
The midterm
Ukrainians
elections are gone
and
for the
captured
Democrats
bases
if
and stuff.
the prices rise further. And people
you've seen one pipe,
in
you've
the
seen
US
the
don't
oil
know
pipes.
how to pay their bill anymore. So I'm very, very concerned on the democracy in the US now due to these sanctions, due to these things who are not really necessary, who are voluntary, and I think they are planned for ages already, but not well thought through, I think.
While banning Russian oil would almost certainly mean
Australia.
even higher energy prices for your average American, Washington's energy giants could be looking at some mega profits. Anthony Blinken's been busy trying to get European leaders on the anti-Russian oil bandwagon, and the European Commission seems in favor.
Tomorrow, the European Commission will table proposals on how to quickly get rid of our dependency on Russian fossil fuels. This means diversifying suppliers, switching to liquefied natural gas and pipeline gas, repowering the EU by investing in renewables, improving energy efficiency.
Always in
Not everyone in Europe is on board, though.
I know
That's
what
mostly
you're meaning,
because it's
right, and I
simply
get you
not
100%,
possible
and
to
I
do
do
what
agree
Washington
with
is
you, man,
suggesting.
The federal government has been urgently working for months with its partners in the European Union and beyond to develop alternatives to Russian energy. This cannot be done overnight. It is therefore a conscious decision on our part to continue the activities of commercial companies in the field of energy supply with Russia.
President Biden said nothing is off the table when it comes to sanctions aimed at Russia. Okay. But can America's president afford such a policy when he's also promised to keep gas prices low? The White House seems less than willing to find out.
How the president has been approaching any of the steps we've taken as it relates to Russia and the actions of Russia and holding President Putin accountable is to take every step to the maximum impact that will impact President Putin, the Russian economy. We are looking at options we could take right now to cut U.S. consumption of Russian energy, but we are very focused on minimizing the impact to families. If you reduce supply in the global marketplace, you are going to raise gas prices. You're going to raise the price of oil, and that is something the president is very mindful of and focused on.
Washington's got plenty of strong words for Russia, but as the recoil from Western sanctions causes more and more collateral damage, it may be only a matter of time until Biden will need to play nice.
Well, for more on this, let's cross live now to Gunnar Beck, German politician and member of the Alternative for Germany party. Gunnar, welcome to RT International.
Right, so it's like some sort of a UKIP party in Germany.
Hello. Now, European politicians for a long time have wanted to diversify Europe's energy imports. And we've heard a lot of strong talk from Western leaders about boycotting Russian oil products and energy products. What choice do you think they have at the moment?
Well, it's quite simple. I don't think that there's any quick way of reducing European dependency on Russian energy. It's as simple as that. Perhaps one correction. I don't think it's entirely correct to say that European leaders have been trying to diversify European energy sources. They've been trying to replace so-called dirty conventional energies with unreliable new energies. That's the climate policy.
Somebody that aspires to be a politician and wants to deliver speeches, he speaks like a fucking 2-year-old. Yes, well, I do say one word at a time. Where's your flow, man?
Which has itself been a major problem behind Europe's rising energy prices and the situation in which the continent is finding itself now.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've actually touched on what I'd like to ask you next about the EU's Green Deal. How do you think the current crisis in Ukraine and the consequent spike in oil prices will affect this Green Deal? Do you think it'll have to be shelved for some time, or do you think they'll have to ramp it up?
Well, I think it's important to realize that both the German government and the European Commission have been pursuing this climate rescue course for several years now. So it's very difficult.
Mate, go behind the scenes or something, man. You shouldn't be doing fucking TV, radio and all that jazz.
On the part of German politicians to change course. Usually, Germans
take a
long time to make up their mind.
To be honest with you.
And once they've done so, they're usually convinced, often wrongly, that they found the right solutions, and then they are extremely reluctant to change course. Usually they only do so when their policies have resoundingly failed. But back to your question, how is the current situation going to affect the climate or the Green Deal? Well, I think compromise.
Davo, I do want to talk about this, man, because it's genuinely a good debate. Because I do feel the same, but I stand back and try and look at myself objectively and try and figure out why I feel this way. Because I felt this way 10 years ago as well. Oh my God! Look, the world is waking up. When it's like for me, like Syria, man, I was convinced that was the fucking world starting to crumble. Then, like, man, you could the amount of man, my head was spinning with the biblical shit you could read into that Syria fucking conflict, man. It's been gone, done, and dusted. And this shit will be gone, done, and done and dusted. Something along those lines. But it'll come and go. Davo, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe fucking this is the apocalypse and the baby Jesus is coming back, right? But I don't think so, because I've been convinced so many fucking times before in the past. People have convinced me about fucking Nibiru coming about 9 times out of fucking 99 times. I remember one guy fucking pure bamboozle, maybe maths and all that shit, bamboozle me 10 ton of bullshit about magnetic shift, and it was happening like in a week in Tuesday, and I'm sitting there like that thinking he's got it's just spin people spin you another yarn. I'm not saying the world isn't changing, I'm not saying that fucking the mega shit isn't happening. But what I am saying is that is always the case, whether we know it, whether we realise it or not.
Compromises will have to be made, because quite simply, there's no easy way of reducing energy dependency on Russia. So I suspect that nuclear energy, which was phased.
That guy's got a fucked up accent. He's a head of a German party thingy. He's got a hint of fucking creepy English cunt. Boarding school, fucked a lot of guys. Accent. David Icke is obviously a fucking footballer, worked for the BBC, then the Green Party, then fucking fell into conspiratordom and became a guy that could say so much about so little. Flippity flobbity flu. I looked up a thesaurus this morning, did you?
So what we'll have in Europe now are a lot of compromises and contradictions. But the long and the short of it is that they won't be sufficient to substitute energy imports.
It's got a weird accent,
Russia.
isn't he?
On the other hand,
weird accent.
Because of I think a certain lack of mental agility on the part, especially of German.
Like a stuck-up gay English cunt. And he's a jet, and we are a smidge of bratwurst.
Policy makers, and remember, the Commission President von der Leyen is a German. I think there will be an extreme reluctance to abandon the Green Deal, quite simply because the European Commission has been committed to it for so long. The policy may be foolish, but I don't.
Who cares? I was speaking to a mate the other day, right, and we were just fucking bumping our gums about shit, right? And it's only in hindsight and reflection, and you can take away for this what you want. But to me, it's clear as day that Russia had a dog in the fight when it came to the debate, when it came to fracking, the pros and the cons. Right? Now, I said to him, where was the first place that you seen bad news about fracking? And him, like myself, it was through RT America. It would go around and find people lighting their taps on fire because the fracking had got onto the water table and they were using like local wells and stuff like that shit, and the gas was getting into their pipes and they could set their shit on fire. And it's only in hindsight that think of all the people that got radicalized, gaslit, motivated, mobilised to go along, well-meaning as motherfuckers, like the Captain Planet fucking capes on the full shebang, dreadlocking their hair and staying in fucking shitholes for fucking ages to save the planet for the fucking big bad frackers. And when you boil it all down, it comes down to energy supply and people being dependent on Russia. America's in a position where they can export their, what do they call it, liquefied gas, they call it. Shale gas. Fracked gas. Now, I'm not saying fracking's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying make your own mind up. But what I'm saying is, think of where you got all your anti-fracking information. Came from fucking RT. I don't know. But when you're considering shit, I think understanding the fracking thing comes into the energy argument and our dependency on Russia argument. Now, the UK is actually quite good. We could probably be self-sufficient, more or less. We fracked a wee bit. And there is wells that have been opened, but because of the protests and stuff, the government decided to shut them down and are now going to get cement poured in them. When there's wells there that could go and get fracked and lessen their dependency on Russia. But it swings and roundabouts. Oh, we Greta Thunberg, man. Like, she's annoying as a motherfucker, right? But then your sympathies have to go out for her. And her mom and dad should get locked up for fucking child abuse, man. Put that poor girl... Number one, to brainwash her fucking so baldy... Like, was she no playing with Tamagotchis or something? Is that still no a thing? Her kids still no doing with the Tamagotchis, whatever you call them. The Game Boys, playing the Tetris. That fucking young fucking Windy Liquor hasn't fucking had a childhood, man. It's been robbed for her. Not only that, she's been made a fucking hate figure. And the way the world works with all the idiots that would like not only just like make a passing comment in real world, she's an idiot. They'll actually fucking deliberately digitally stalk her and troll her, thinking they're fucking widos. Yes. No. Had the treble on last night. $5 on. £20 back. Anyway. What's happening?
Russia,
Playing with fire.
It's all virtue signaling.
I'm talking about thumb cunt.
And these leaders are not looking out for the welfare of their countries at all. They're just taking wild.
Is this the woman from fucking Police Academy? There, please, can you please stop murdering people, please? Excuse me, Mr. Murderer. This is the woman from fucking Police Academy, no way.
Risks. There's also people calling for actually getting NATO into the war.
Fuck it, I'm not honestly, man. She's taking the piss. Corner pals sat room like, hey, we're going on your day, you're going on fucking Russia Today, right? Let's fucking right. And look at her age, man. She's old enough to be down with the old fucking police academy.
With Russia over Ukraine, which is of course totally insane, but that exists.
This is insane.
And I don't see sensible people I mean, there are sensible people in the West. In the United States, there are sensible people, but they are very far out of power. They have been marginalized.
We're back at the police
it for this
academy.
hour. My name's Peter Scott, and I'll be back again with more news and views in just over 30 minutes.
Hold on, news and views. Does that make you a pop magazine? Fuck's sake. Let's see what the BBC is saying here. Top of the hour. On the wall. On the doom and the gloom. In the room with the doom. It's the Romulan again!
Today at 1, we are live in Ukraine, from where the evacuations begin as Russia agrees to open humanitarian corridors to key cities under siege.
It's windy out there, man.
People from the northeastern city of Sumy and the town of Irpin, near the capital Kyiv, have a 12-hour ceasefire in which to get out.
Get out of
The
Dodge.
mayor of the city of Okitirka says the city centre has been completely destroyed. As the Ukrainian president prepares to address MPs in Westminster
I think he should be going around doing
he has this message for the world.
Cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha. Just to lighten the mood for the citizens.
Here in Kyiv, on Bank
Do the cha-cha-cha.
Not hiding, and I'm not afraid of anyone, as long as needed to win this war. Our national
Cha-cha-cha your way. There's famous bits in films that he would be proud of, that people dancing
and stop all work in the country.
Blows up
more
around
than
him.
2 million people have now fled Ukraine. Poland says it's taken 1.2 million of them across its border since the conflict began.
And stay with us on BBC News for continuing coverage and analysis from our team of correspondents in the UK and around the world.
I want to see the president cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha. Beep. Boop. Beep. Boop. Beep. Boop. Beep. Boop. Beep. Boop. You're in a suggestive state. Boom, boom, boom.
Good
You're in the room with the
afternoon from
Romulans.
Lviv in Western
I come in
Ukraine
peace.
on day 13 of the war here. The authorities in Ukraine have begun evacuating people from the northeastern city of Sumy and the town of Irpin, which is near the capital Kyiv, after Russia agreed to open safe escape routes. In its latest update on the invasion, the Ukrainian military said the pace of the Russian advance has slowed significantly. It claimed that Russian forces were demoralized and starting to resort to looting,
I just want
and
to
it accused them of
cha-cha-cha.
violating international humanitarian laws.
Yeah, I need to
Well,
remember
this
to
map
start
shows
using
the
channel
areas
1 to
here
get
in
rid
red
of.
where Russian forces are present, but not necessarily in control. Moscow says that it's opening corridors today to allow people to leave Chernihiv, Kyiv, Sumy, Kharkiv and Mariupol, which is further down
Easy for you
in
to
the
say.
southeast.
What
Well, the
about
number of
Kyiv?
refugees keeps rising, with the United Nations now saying that more than 2 million people have fled Ukraine. James Waterhouse has sent this report from Kyiv.
A possible way out.
Did she say Kyiv?
A fragile
Well
escape
done,
from
Romulan
the
lady.
eastern city of Sumy.
Like the Romulans now.
Some of its 250,000 population leaving
Oh,
home.
this guy's
destination
voice.
100 miles away to the south.
Pure trained
This is what
hypnotist.
they're escaping. Another Ukrainian city under siege, under heavy bombardment, with ordinary people.
Some would say that's an improvement on what it looked like beforehand.
9 people were killed yesterday. 2 of them were children. This is Optirka in the east. Authorities say there were 2 air raids that left craters up to 20 meters wide.
The center of the city is completely destroyed. Many have been injured. As of today, we can't find several people.
More locations across the country are going through this. There have been 4 attempts in as many days to get people out through temporary ceasefires, and they've all failed. Today in Irpin, to the west of Kiev, a corridor holds. People continue to evacuate from heavy fighting as the Russians try to advance. 150 have made it out so far, but Moscow's been accused of trying to block them. Unlike some other major cities, Kiev isn't surrounded, so people can resupply, heat their homes, or leave if they want to. But the worry is that window is shrinking. One person who says they aren't going anywhere, though, is President Zelensky.
He's like a potato head hypnotist.
I'm staying here in Kiev, on Bankova, not hiding, and I'm not afraid of anyone, as long as needed to win this war, our national war.
The fighting very much continues in this war. Oil depots burn in Zhytomyr further west after being struck. The Russian advance continues in the south as well, the port city of Mykolaiv next in their sights. 2 million Ukrainians have now been forced to leave their country, according to the UN. Here, refugees cross the Danube River into Romania.
One of the key needs that UNHCR will support with is to set up reception centers. The challenge is that given the ongoing conflict and hostilities, a lot of the supply chains have been broken. So we're dependent on a lot of the aid coming in from abroad across the border here with Poland, so that we have the resources to set it up.
The numbers of people escaping this war will keep going up. The question of how best to help them won't go away. James Waterhouse, BBC News in Kiev.
Kiev.
Let's join our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, who's in the capital, Kiev.
Oh, there's
and Lise, there was
lady.
huge scepticism on these safe passage corridors yesterday, but people do seem to be getting out today.
A small number are getting out, and every family taken to safety, taken away from the shelling, matters. It helps to ease what
I'm
is
going
now
to
immense
Google her
and
at some
growing
point and
suffering across this
see if
country.
the
But I
Wikipedia will
think
tell
what the
me where she
United
grew
Nations,
up.
what aid agencies, what most
I'm
Ukrainians would say is
very
that given the
curious about
scale of
accents.
this deepening humanitarian crisis, given how many people are now under fire and running out of food, there needs to be a nationwide ceasefire, a humanitarian pause, as it is sometimes called in conflicts.
But why do the Ukrainians want a pause? Because every time they open their mouth, they tell you how much they're battering the Russians and how much they're going to be victorious and how well they're doing and all that. It's almost as if they're getting it doing and don't admit it, and then you're like, keys, keys.
Where there's a lot of international
keys in Russia.
They're also managing to leave. But it is Mariupol, a city of nearly 500,000, running without food and water, no electricity, no heating.
Mr. Richard,
people are still
I have been reliably informed that Kiev is the way that Ukrainians say Kiev, and Kiev is the Russian way, and for whatever weird thing is going on in the Western media right now, as we all can witness,
a campaign which Western military analysts say has so far failed to
they've
secure key objectives.
It's almost like the intelligence services have just took right in charge.
As the war in Ukraine approaches 2 weeks, Russian tactics continue to grow more brutal.
So that's why they're calling it chicken
about what the West can do. We can see in red on this map the areas where Russian troops
how many
are
times are they going to show
although
you
they're not
this
always in full
fucking
control.
map?
Despite lots of problems and their supply convoy being stuck, they are making their way to the capital, Kyiv. And in the south, they've been making slow but steady progress. Russia has issued various demands, including wanting Ukraine to give up territory in Crimea and the east, to give up on plans to join NATO and to become demilitarized or made neutral. Ukraine will not accept these, and Russia's original plan of a quick strike to topple the government failed. That's led them to resort to more brutal tactics and to growing suffering. That's also raised questions about whether the West can do more to stop the Russian military. There have been calls for NATO to impose a no-fly zone to stop Russia inflicting damage from the air. But NATO's ruled that out, saying it could lead to direct combat and trigger a wider war. The West has been providing military aid, and one option being discussed is the US giving planes to Poland so that Poland can give its MiG jets to the Ukrainians. Poland says that needs to be a NATO decision because of the risk of it becoming a target, something recognised today by the Defence Secretary.
I don't know if he's heard that.
We will support Poland, whatever choice she makes as a country.
Right. Now, Ukraine don't have any pilots that can fly Western planes, but they do have pilots that can fly Russian MiGs. Who in Europe has Russian MiGs? The only person that has Russian MiGs is Poland. So, the West are going to give Poland fucking up-to-date Western planes. Poland are going to give fucking Ukraine shitty MiGs. And then you're going to have MiG on MiG conflict over Ukraine. Ain't that beautiful? Ain't that just symmetry? I mean, I can't wait for the MiGs to be fucking firing at each other over Ukraine, you know? Can't wait. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? It's not as if...
We are there to help one of our oldest...
I mean, it's not as if, like, I don't know, let's say, for example, there has been any passenger planes blew the fuck up over Ukraine recently. Oopsie-daisy! So there fucking has been! We still don't know who done it. No cunt still owned up to it. Just a little passenger plane. And just pointing at each other and blaming each other. Now we're talking about giving these fucking vodka munchkins fucking mere planes. I'm pretty sure in the Ukrainian army you still get your fucking ration of vodka. I think you still get that Russian one as well, but Ghost of Kyiv shut all the MiGs down. Martin, is that a joke? I heard that, right? I heard that, and I thought it was somebody like making a joke that they're changing the name of Chicken Kiev. They can't change the name of Chicken Kiev, man. But they still spelt the same. It's just the way they fucking say it. Anyway, somebody wrote me a comment earlier on, man, and they're willing to put up some Ukrainian refugees as long as they're hot and blonde. And I'll like, all the men are fighting, so you're going to be just left with. So I'll put a family up, but only for a particular period of time, because at some point you'll go to sleep and wake up, and when you wake up in the morning, she'll be a fat Babalenka that when you open her up, there's hundreds more of her and hundreds more Babalenkas wearing their fucking wee headscarves inside her. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. It's a fact. Where do you think they got the idea for those fucking dolls for? Reality. Anyway, let's listen to this baldy bastard talk about weapons of war. Just that, dishing them out like fucking playing cards at a poker table.
Allies, you know, we will help them with a whole range of protection measures should they decide to do that. But I think, you know, it's a big responsibility.
But these protection measures will kill cunts. Ain't that just gravy, baby? Ain't that just that? Ain't that newspeak? up is down, left is right. It's just these motherfuckers. That's why I like the Victorians. You know, at least you knew when they were committing genocide because they went, hey, oh, we're going to go and fucking slaughter the fucking natives. And there was no bullshitting. Now it's all fucking mind melt, fucking up is down, left is right. These defensive weapons that will kill people are defensive, okay? I do not need a toupee.
Ability for the President and the Prime Minister of Poland to make that decision because, you know, Russia could retaliate.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was today visiting NATO member Estonia, and he made clear that the alliance would defend all its members if they came under attack.
An attack on one.
Oh fuck, Alberto, man! Oh my god, man! You know when you hear shit
in our direction
and you don't fucking you don't know it's 100% true, and then you find out it's fucking true, and your fucking heart sinks a wee bit, man. You're fucking. The world has turned into a big bunch of fucking virtue signalling fucking, like, I want to say douchebags, but that's too American, man. Wankers. Absolute complete fucking virtue signalling fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not even sincere. Unsincere fucking wankers. Oh, I'll stick a Ukrainian flag up in my fucking icon. I'm all good. I absolved myself of all sin and guilt. Fucking crazy. Might as well just fucking sign up to be a full-fledged Catholic and batter and tell the fucking priest your inside leg measurements. Anyway. Virtue signalling motherfuckers, man. That is crazy.
The West is trying to keep the pressure on Moscow through diplomacy, sanctions and military aid. But so far, that's not been enough to reverse the situation on the ground in Ukraine.
I love a good cheap... Do you know what, Gordon? I like the idea of a chicken Kiev. And I'll tell you why. Because I love fucking, like, garlic chicken, chicken breaded, all in the wanner, what's there not to like? What's there not to like? Every time you fucking cook it, the garlic doesn't fucking stay inside the fucking chicken. And if it does, when you go to cut that fucker, you get scalded with molten lava, fucking buttery shit. So I like the idea of chicken Kiev, but do you know what I would love to do? And I'll be honest with you, it's not beyond my skill grade. I'd probably fuck it up a couple of times, but I would get there. Make a chicken Kiev homemade. I bet you it'd be amazing. Cut a wee pocket in a breast. Get your sticks out. Cocktail sticks, ram a bit of fucking garlic butter in that bad boy. But I think this is where I would go wrong. I'm terrible at portioning, so I would ram too much butter in that bad boy and it would. So the trick would be getting just the right amount of butter in there. Egg it, breadcrumb it, double fucking whammy. And then what I would do, I would deep fat fry that fucker, man. I've got fat fry. Oh man, it's a must. Oh, you can tell I'm fucking hungry. I'm having lunch after this.
Well, as we heard, the United Nations says some 2 million people have now fled Ukraine, demonstrating the sheer scale of this growing humanitarian crisis. Refugees.
I'm a white cunt, I look yellow enough. That's my homage to Ukraine. My homage to Ukraine is go and fucking meet these motherfuckers, man. These European people aren't they fucking symmetrical with West European people? And that's me even fucking calling them European, and I don't
These are moving into neighbouring countries, with the vast majority heading into Poland. It alone has taken 1.2 million people. Well, our correspondent Nick Thorpe is in Hungary's capital city, Budapest, where people have been arriving after crossing the border with Ukraine.
Oh, Hungary will be loving that. They're little Hitler, they've got a little Hitler, haven't they? They've got a little mini Trump in charge.
This is the West Station in Budapest, one of the largest railway stations and the main hub, the main focal point of all those arriving in Hungary now. Trains are arriving every hour or so from the eastern border from the city of Záhony. They're channeled
That's what I'm saying, though, Roberto. Make a homemade one, man. I think it would be lovely.
Set up along 5 different points along that border. They're then put on trains and channeled here
just get a lovely
Budapest. Here,
organic.
once they arrive, as you can see, the scene behind me, they're given something to eat.
The reason I say that is because
those who want to stay in Hungary, perhaps half of the 200,000 who've arrived here so far,
and it's easy to cut
staying in Hungary. The other 100,000 or so travelling on. To put this into the sort of wider diplomatic perspective, it's also interesting that Prime Minister Orban of Hungary will be travelling, is now in London with the leaders of other Central European countries. They're afraid that far from Ukraine being a buffer zone to Russia, that the Central European countries like themselves are now, in Mr. Putin's view, becoming, or he wants them to become, a buffer zone between Western Europe and Russia in the future.
No, who cares? What's the cannabis, Ukraine cannabis man on
Shell
TikTok?
has announced plans to gradually end
guy
its
selling weed on
involvement in all
TikTok.
Russian oil, gas and petroleum. The British firm said it would immediately stop all spot purchases of Russian crude oil and would shut its service stations in the country. Let's go live now to our business editor Simon Jack in London.
Oh
Simon,
my
tell us
god,
first
man,
more
look,
about
somebody
Shell's
fucking drew a fucking stereotypical Jew and fucking that's what they drew.
Oil in the spot market, the immediate cash market last week. Got international condemnation,
could have went a wee bit more Jew
outrage, and comments from within Ukraine saying,
"It's looks like fucking
Russian oil not
Penfold." That's
blood.
what you'd have been called in school.
They apologised for doing that today and said they would not make any more purchases of discounted Russian oil, as other people have been shunning it.
Penfold,
they'll also shut those their service stations. Both of those quite easy to do, but longer term, getting out of these long-term supply contracts for oil and gas is a very complex business, and the company tells me it could take weeks, months, or even longer to do that. They have thousands of people on the ground working in plants there. They've got a lot of employees, and it will take some time to do. But I think that Shell's decision will now put the focus on other Western companies who haven't done this yet and are still trading, the likes of Coca-Cola, McDonald's.
What is this about? We've never seen anything like this before in our lives.
What their action they take.
Is it just the way the game board is structured now, with all the virtue signalling motherfucking shit that goes on?
Yeah, you've got a bit
or
of
is there something else going
on? Asking its allies to consider a full embargo on oil and gas. Now, to be clear, the big earner for Russia is oil. It makes 3 times more out of oil than it does out of gas. So you've got a retaliatory statement from the Russians saying that if you embargo our oil, we will consider switching off the gas. And that would be very difficult for Europe to deal with. It relies on, mainland Europe relies on Russia for 40% of its gas. That is why this afternoon we're expecting around 2:30 our time a plan from EU ministers to try and wean itself off 70% of the gas it uses by year end. A very ambitious target, and there will be collateral damage. Any sanction worth its bite, with real bite, has collateral damage on those who impose it, and nowhere is that truer than in the oil and gas sector.
Maybe look at my line.
Simon, thank you. Simon Jack reporting. Well, as we heard later today, Volodymyr Zelensky will speak live to MPs in the House of Commons. He'll address MPs via video link, having spoken to the European Parliament in the same way in the last week. Here's our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus.
That's it, Roberto. Anybody wants to sign up for Skype Me, give me a shout. I'll get money.
Enough in this crisis. Boris
I've
Johnson
talked
this
shit,
morning
I don't think
greeted the
they've got
Prime
it.
Minister
They
of
must have a
Poland.
referral
This country
system,
has taken 1.2
everybody's got
million refugees and helped transfer arms to Ukraine. Hungary, it's taken almost
Well, I'm doing Not the
200,000
Infowars
people
nightly
who
news
doesn't want
tonight.
weapons
So
passing
tune in
through its
tonight at
territory. At today's
9
meeting
o'clock.
too were the Prime Ministers of Slovakia, which also borders Ukraine, and the Czech Republic. All are EU nations which were once behind the Iron Curtain and under Moscow's domination.
You are countries that are in the front of this crisis. You're facing the risk of
But I would say
I'm living off the
grid. Crisis. The UK stands prepared to help you in any way that we can.
To say anymore.
Earlier, the Chief of Defence Staff was there for the Cabinet meeting. The UK has led in supplying weapons.
Could we be doing more?
But by yesterday, just 300 visas had been issued to Ukrainians under the Family Reunion Scheme.
You want me to tell you what I done the other night?
Refugees we've taken.
The Defence Secretary said he's offering his staff to help.
We can do more and we will do more.
It's embarrassing, though, isn't it? Because at this point, it looks like the UK government is putting bureaucracy before compassion in the midst of a European crisis.
Could you get any more like...
is huge. 200,000 people under the family scheme,
mouldy
uncapped under the humanitarian scheme. So the number of Ukrainians that come to this country is huge, and that is generous. I don't think anyone can say that's not.
My mate Injurious Dave was telling me when he goes to the post-totty category in Pornland,
needs to move from petticoating process to active delivery. Get on and help.
Wearing big
says
gloves.
sanctions could be tougher.
Actually, we could take a lot more action around choking off the finances for Putin. You know, if, for example,
then when you go underneath the troll bridge,
against those who've been stashing their money in London property,
that's mean.
That could make
She
a really
looks
big
beautiful.
difference too.
Last night, the Commons did approve measures that'll make it easier to identify individuals who have property in the UK and to freeze their assets. But later today, when Ukraine's president addresses Parliament, he's likely to say Western nations must do much, much more in this crisis.
Let's speak to Damien now in Westminster. Damien, President Zelensky's appearance in the House of Commons is unprecedented. But is it likely to change anything?
Well, it's likely to add to the sort of the pressure on Western nations, the UK, to go further, Rita. He will be, of course, addressing via video link after the Commons Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, agreed to that request from President Zelensky. Interesting, what we've seen this morning so far, or today so far in the Commons, has been more sort of anger about this issue about refugees. 1.7 million now who fled into EU countries, and that fact that just 300 Ukrainians yesterday have been granted visas under that family scheme. An urgent question in the Commons today. The Tory MP's Roger Gale, he stood up and he said
more fun than the Ukraine war.
Processing being in place in Calais was not true, and that he said usually this
depending
would be
how you do it and approach it and
issue,
stuff,
and he wanted more.
It doesn't cost you that much money.
The government, Home Office Minister Kevin Foster said that they were pushing.
There was last night I won an easy treble, right? It was nearly that hard.
But President
Zelensky got me 20 quid back. That lasted me easily like a week and a half, man.
Which Poland might be in a place to do, but the Defence Secretary today
recycling that shit round. And I know ultimately I'm going to lose it. And I know that. I know that ain't the point.
Well, French officials in Calais say that almost 600 Ukrainian refugees
and
have
having
now
an
arrived
extra
there seeking visas to travel to Britain. But they're
be
said
extra
to be
something to
encountering
pay attention
bureaucratic
to.
obstacles. And as Damien was saying,
Games
the
you would
Home Office is being accused of not
otherwise
doing
pay
enough to
attention
help
to.
those who've escaped the conflict
I don't know,
seek
each to
sanctuary
their
in
own.
the UK. Our home editor Mark Easton is in Calais for us now. And
I
Mark,
can tell
what
that
is the
Romulan's
situation
judging me though.
Well, as you say, I think the issue really
Canine.
is about the
Canine.
biometric testing.
Kanaski.
The
Is
UK
Zelensky
insisting that before someone can get a visa
Cha-cha-chan, Prime Minister of
as a
Ukraine?
Ukrainian refugee, as
I
part
just
of the
know
Ukrainian
the
family scheme, they need to be checked out properly.
Strictly
at
Come
at a
Dancing
place
Prime
with the right
Minister of
equipment.
Ukraine.
And what
I've
that's
not
done is
familiarised
meant
myself
that
with his
loads of
name
people,
yet.
600 people are here in Calais, but they can't
Although
get a visa
he
because
does
they
make
need
me
get
want to do a
biometric test, and
cha-cha-cha.
They can't do that.
That's
In
all
Calais, the Home
I'm
Office has made a
thinking.
decision not to have those facilities in Calais, and for the moment they're being instructed to go to either Paris or Brussels. Appointments are being made
Fat
available.
Joe
They're trying
90,
to
I missed
expand
that
the
5
services.
shit.
And
Europe
now
and
we
USA
understand
will
that
not
the Home
survive
Office is
without
about
Russia
to
unless
open
they
a
are
new,
starting to
visa
crack
application
in the
Lille,
countryside.
which is about 60
Well,
miles
Canine,
southeast
right,
of
no,
Calais. So,
I'm
another
no
journey for those who've made
100%
it
up to
here,
date,
but
right?
hopefully in
But
a
to the
place that
best
will
of
be
my
suitable for some
knowledge,
of
I
the
thought
many more,
USA were in a
refugees
position
who
where
it's
they could now
expected will be
export
coming
their shale gas, as they call it, or liquid
the authorities
gas,
here in Calais have become increasingly vocal.
I may be wrong, but I thought they were in the position.
Response.
Now,
the mayor of
let's use
Calais,
Germany as
made some comments today. She said,
as an example, right? Because I think they're one of the countries, if not the country, that's most reliant
to be either clear with their guidelines. Either they accept the refugees or they don't accept them. And she contrasted what's happening in terms of the
fucking bitching and moaning about refugees. Turned the war into a refugee war now. Right, now, again, K9, I don't know how up to date you are or aren't, and please correct me or stick your tuppence worth in if you disagree or whatever. But to the best of my knowledge, right, the USA are in a position to export, but it's about infrastructure.
It's back to you in the
Let's use Germany as an example. They're in the 30% bracket, I think. I do believe if it's not the 30, it's the high 20s. They're relying on Russian gas at the moment. For them to replace that with shale gas, number one, they don't have the infrastructure to come in and plug that hole. Well, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so they don't have the infrastructure. They just don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the ability to take on board the amount of shale liquid gas to plug that hole and cut Russia off. So they can't cut Russia off. They can work towards becoming more. The UK, on the other hand, because we've got such a small reliance, we're in the low, I think we're like 5%. If not less. You can go and find them. These figures are all floating about right now. You can go and find them quite easy. Don't rely on me. I'm just going on the top of my head. But I'm giving you a ballpark. But the UK, because of our North Sea shit, we're pretty close to self-sufficient. And if we started fracking, we could be up and running self-sufficient in a relatively small period of time. I wouldn't like to put a time on it, but I know it would be long. But Europe's a different case. So are we going to turn around and tell, you know, there's swings and roundabouts? Aye, sorry K9, that's what I do believe to the best of my
but he was turned away by Ukraine's embassy in Berlin.
Shit.
But hundreds of fully trained former soldiers are willing to go. In Kent, this small convoy was...
France has renewable energy and doesn't need Russia. I thought they had tons of fucking nuclear, to be honest. Maybe they do as well.
And I watched a 10-year-old girl on the telly.
Well, K9, funny you mentioned France. France is one player that I haven't heard mentioned when it comes to reliance on Russian gas, and
but they have concerns.
Obviously, because it's self-evident they're not a player. And I would argue either of the UK, in a sense. We're only a player in the sense that we're fucking trying to look after Europe or keep Europe out of Russia's bossack. The UK locals will not be happy to see fracking nearby countryside. Well, mate, the way your average Joe is wetting your knickers over this Ukrainian shit right now, it's the prime time to fucking start getting those wells up and running. This is where you're going to get maximum sympathy for those fuckers. Isn't it?
An investigation has concluded that the former Commons Speaker John Bercow was
story.
A serial
Something
bully.
that isn't Ukraine.
The independent panel, which looked into a number of complaints, has banned him from holding a parliamentary pass. Mr. Bercow has labelled the findings a travesty of justice. Let's go live now to our political correspondent, David Wallace-Lockhart. David, what more can you tell us?
Ben, John Bercow stepped down as Speaker in 2019 after around a decade in the post, and towards the end of his time as Speaker, allegations began to emerge about his behaviour, and eventually we had 3 former members of staff who came forward making complaints about behaviour between 2009 and 2014. These included allegations of verbal abuse, of displays of anger, of mimicking staff. Now, John Bercow denies these allegations. It went to the Parliamentary Commissioner on Standards, where she upheld the complaints. Mr Bercow appealed against this, and we've now had a body called the Independent Expert Panel looking at it. They've reported back today. They've upheld the complaints again, and they've said that Mr Bercow
sounds like a
abused his
mouthwash
power.
or something,
They've labelled
doesn't it, man?
him a
His
serial liar
family must be
and a
in
serial bully.
pharmaceuticals.
And the panel has decided that he should not be allowed to hold a parliamentary pass for the estate, which of course is highly unusual
as
for
well
someone
about
who's formerly
the UK
held such a
locals
position. Mr Bercow
not
has
being happy
responded,
about the
saying the
fracking.
case against
RT
him
isn't
rooted in
getting
hearsay,
broadcast on
and
the
it's been
council
targeted
TV
due to his
anymore.
efforts to
So
reform Parliament.
it'll be
Okay, David, thank you very
wait
much
to see
indeed.
how much the RP propaganda
There have
can
been growing calls
wind
over
the
the last year
locals up
for
about
action to
fracking.
ensure the safety of women in
Being
public. Well, now
Armageddon
the
and
chair
going to
of the
cause
Women and Equality
earthquakes,
Select Committee
and the
has told the
UK will fall
BBC
into
she
the
wants
centre
new
of the earth.
legislation and clearer signals from the Prime Minister that he takes these issues seriously. A YouGov survey for the BBC suggests the majority of women feel unsafe walking alone at night. Lakshmi Gopal has been hearing the stories of women from across the UK.
A man asked me for my phone number, then punched me when I said no.
I've been followed and threatened.
I was grabbed and groped.
Made sexual comments.
He tried to kiss me as I struggled to get free.
Right, man. I don't know. Seeing my journey in life, I've never met a fucking dude or dudes or a bunch of dudes sitting round being serious, talking about fucking that sort of a shit being acceptable. Not even being acceptable, about them doing it. Women, be afraid, be very afraid. There's penises out there coming to get you. Aye. So make sure you thumbs it up and tune in tonight at 9 o'clock. We'll do Not the Infowars Nightly News.
We look in each other's eyes and we go, yeah, I recognise.
What will be good for you in K9 missing?
And I know my friend has felt that way. I know my sister has felt that way.
Over half of women surveyed weren't confident police would take a report of public sexual harassment seriously. And it isn't currently a crime. The chair of the Women and Equalities Committee wants to change that and wants the issue.
This stuff winds me up. I heaven, man, it's well, I would call it race baiting, but it's obviously not race baiting. It's penis vagina baiting. What would you call that? Sex baiting? Don't put that in your Googles. It's encouraging war of the sexes, man. Women, 9 out of 10 cats agree that they've been unwelcome touches and oh god. Well, Davo, this is one thing I harp on about all the time, man. It's like men. Is it a Russian? Men are just forgot about. See during all these packages, news packages, and Ukraine's a good example, right? They'll talk about here's an example. Well, in Mariupol, there's been 150,000 dead, including one woman. You're like, right, so the 99.9% the rest of them were all fucking men. Ah, fuck that, throw them in the scrap heap. Who gives a fuck? I get it. I know I'm not naive as to not get it. You know, it's because what man in the right mind isn't emotionally fucking women and children getting killed. I mean, I seen it happen to me the other day, man. I'm fucking quite happy shits and giggles about all that fucking crazy footage coming out about Ukraine and stuff. And then I switched over straight away. To be honest, I try and not subject myself to shit that fucking makes me want to cry myself to sleep my cornflakes. And it was, it must have been the BBC actually, because they were talking about Russians doing indiscriminate shelling. Right? Now, it showed you nothing of the shelling, no evidence of it, and just fucking dead bodies in the middle of the street. And the dead bodies happened to be a ma and 2 fucking young kids. Now, whether these were even real bodies or whatnot, man, they look real to fucking me, man, and they look like fucking just lying in the street with all their fucking 1970s winter gear on. And I was like, fucking, oh wow, man, it was fucking horrible, man. No, I deliberately try and not subject myself to that kind of imagery as much as possible. Because see, as soon as you fucking see that imagery, you're fucking, it's like hypnosis, man. You're so suggestible, you know? So they should drip all the dead bodies and all the tragedy, all the X Factor fucking backstories from fucking whatnot in front of you, and then tell you, Russia's bad, let's get Russia. We need to get Russia. And anyway, and gentlemen and gentle ladies, tune in this evening at 9 bells for not the Infowars Nightly News. The original, the OG baby, alternative look at the so-called alternative media. Skeptical with the spectacles about the so-called skeptics, and watching the motherfucking so-called watchmen. So tune in tonight, 9 o'clock, I'll do that. I'm gonna go and chill out, feed myself. The British reactor out in the evening, Roberto Davo Marty, IE Media. Make sure you check out his channel if you can. I don't know if that function's still available. I know they've done away with it for a while. I don't know if you can still do it. Anyway, check out his channel and you'll get his podcasts, as well as other podcasty places that I'm unaware of because I'll stay in the dark ages. I think I'm down with the kids when I rock a DAB radio. Oh, I'm not joking. Well, the BBC something, isn't it? Look at that for a shot. Oh, it's an MP.
Seriously, and that he's not interested in a few cosmetic measures like CCTV, but actually in making sure that we have all of the necessary tools to intervene in that offender journey.
Guy in a dress. I'm not sure. Is that a guy in a dress? Folks, make sure you thumbs it up. Much appreciated. Tune in tonight, 9 o'clock. And answers in the postcard.
Where there may be gaps in existing laws on public sexual harassment. Government action is only part of the solution. But Sarah, like many, hopes the spotlight on the issue could finally result in meaningful change.
There are enough voices around now to hopefully say that this is really not okay. This is who we are. This is our bodies. Nobody has the right to touch them unless we say so.
Lakshmi Gopal, BBC News.
Well, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in that report, you can find help and advice at bbc.co.uk/actionline. The UK's most premature twins are leaving hospital after a long period in intensive care. Harry and Harley Crane were born 4 months early last October, just 22 weeks and 5 days. They each weighed 500 grams. Well, their parents, Jade and Steve Crane, say they are overjoyed that the twins are finally going home.
Definitely put the beef on them, Joy. I suppose that's what you want, man, when you've seen them like that.
The lottery, you feel the same. Yeah. It's coming to terms with something happening so good to you that you didn't think would.
So, just hours now before that historic address by President Zelensky to the House of Commons. So let's rejoin Rita in the city of Lviv.
Oh, Zelensky is that Ukrainian dude. I come in peace.
Ben, thank you. Well, welcome back to Lviv, and our correspondent, our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, joins me once more. Lise, we are nearly 2 weeks on in this war now. What is your assessment of how the situation is developing?
Well, I think everyone's assessment is that Russian forces haven't prevailed in the skies or on the ground as many had expected. With their vastly superior firepower and manpower, the Ukrainians have put up surprising and effective resistance, both soldiers and civilians. Their air power is still largely intact. We see almost every day the surface-to-air missiles streaking across the sky. Where the Russians have made some progress has been in the south along the Black Sea, where they have more effective fighting forces. Even there, though they've been able to encircle some cities and occupy some, they still are making slow progress. The concern is that if the ground operation continues to move slowly, they'll resort to long-range artillery fire in bombardment. By its nature, it's highly indiscriminate, and that's what we're already seeing, the shelling of residential.
Love bombs and lollipops and do-do-boo-do-boo-do. And what were you saying when the West were doing the same? See, I hate all this shit. I think it's all horrible, man. I do understand it's indiscriminate, the fucking artillery they've got. See those machines that look fucking mean as fuck? Basically just plastic tubes on a fucking truck. They're fucking no guided. What they do is they get a guy in the way a protractor looking at a map, trying to figure out a fucking destination and an angle and a probability where it's going to land, and then they just light that shit up. That's just tubes. Looks mean as fuck and delivers a punch, man. Fucking can wipe out areas. But for it to bounce up there like the moral high ground and all that, you're like, my God. Very early on, at the start of this whole shit show fucking unraveling, right? Iraq and the advent, no, the proliferation of the internet coincided with the Iraq war. So all the shit that usually would get fucking moved to the side and not get shown on mainstream on TV, i.e. like the vast majority of people wouldn't see it, was now doing the rounds on the interwebs. And it was Julian Assange, the internet ninja, that had that footage of the American Apache fucking helicopter with its big fucking mad machine gun fucking destroying journalists. And then if you fucking go and look at some of the speculation about what the journalists were covering and whatnot, man, you're like, wow. And then this shit happens, and you're trying to tell me this fucking bag face lady hasn't been privy to the knowledge of what, like, she knows how the world works. I get it. She knows that she's a fucking talking head and all that. But I just don't expect me to sit by quietly and fucking listen to your fucking tell me with your accents, Faye, you spook.
Areas, which is why 2 weeks in, this intensifying war is a deepening humanitarian crisis.
Lise, thank you very much. Lise Doucette reporting. Okay, time for a look at the weather now. Here is
done and done and done. Tune in tonight, 9 o'clock UK time, Centre Earth time, Middle Earth time, the one and only fucking time, GMTV, baby. Aye, for not the InfoWars Nightly News. Again, a genuine alternative look at the so-called alternative media. They don't like it. They love you to look at the BBC and call them Romulans and all that. But as settings, you call fucking David Icke a fucking flycatcher. Oh, no, you're deep state Illuminati! Anyway, So join the night. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Roberto, my man, K9. Davo, the British reactor. Yeah, afternoon. Verdant servant. In the afternoon. Don, my big moose, loose about the house is broke. Big Marty, IE Media, if you can, check out his channel for his podcasts. Mr. Richard. Who cares? Afios. Thank you, everybody. Aye. Get your Alex Jones boner pills. I've got a discount code. Gets you extra hard. So thank you, everybody. Tune in tonight. Make sure you thumbs it up as well. Much appreciated. And tune in tonight. Yeah, cheese.
Clips, clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe, hit the bell. It will keep you out of hell, and everything will be well. 1995 will keep you out of hell as well. Alex Jones. Smell. Cheese.